Hey, I'm here to see your boss.
Hey, hi, the narrator here. Doesn't seem like he wants to engage with you. He just wants to block your way.
Can I make a persuasion roll to get him to respond?
Yeah, sure, you can do that, but if it doesn't work, you might take intellect damage to your pride.
Okay, let's do it.
Look, lady, the boss doesn't want to see anyone. Especially you.
You seem real attached to all 10 of your fingers. It'd be a shame if anything happened to him. So, why don't you just let me slide in this one time? Narrator, I'd like to roll intimidation. He's a low-level bouncer, so it should be easy.
Yeah, right. First off, this is my job. And secondly, I know you, I know your reputation. And you have the balls to do anything like that. So just run along, darling.
I don't understand. If I can't just roll a die, how do I get in?
You're in a club. It's got lots of people here. Maybe use your environment a little.
Use my environment? Oh, can I talk to anyone else at the bar and see if they know the bouncer?
Sure. Make an intellect roll, and you can use any abilities or skills that let you gather information or carouse.
Hey, I hear you know the bouncer.
Yeah, you talking about Freddy? Yeah, I know Freddy the bouncer. Loyal guy, stand-up guy. All account of the boss, takes care of his mother.
Oh, that's real nice of him. You know where she lives?
Yeah, I think she's around 3rd and Grayson.
Thanks. Your next drink's on me.
Ah, so kind.
Yeah, I need someone at 3rd and Grayson. Hey, Freddy. I'd like to take another stab at getting in to see the boss.
How can I make this crystal clear for you?
Scram.
Well, if I can't talk to the boss, maybe I got someone who can talk to you.
Freddy, dear, thanks for bringing this kind person over with dinner. That was sweet of you.
Mom?
She's fine. And if you want her to stay that way, you'll let me in.
I'm gonna cut in here. I want you to lose a point of reputation, but you can roll intimidation now. I gotta say, I love the Cypher system. Simple to use, easy to understand. But that doesn't stop me from wanting more.
Give me more.
In a previous video, I talked about how sparse the rule section was about social rules. And if you take it at face value, they could be interpreted as mind control. Sure, as a narrator, it's up to you to make sure it never feels that way, that a game runs forward in a fun and engaging way, and that what the players get feels earned.
That was easy.
That was easy.
Why did you tell us?
I can't stand to be asked the same question 3 times. It just irritates me.
But what if, and I'm just spitballing here, what if there was a way to resolve social conflicts that's a bit more robust, consistent, and interesting? I mean, we all love combats that have a robust, consistent, and interesting rule set, but we have to realize that a social encounter isn't combat. If you break a social situation to rounds and points scored towards a social goal, you're going to have a pretty bland and generic experience. Still, there are things we can learn about how RPGs like Cypher approach combat, and see if there's any lessons we can learn there and apply those to social encounters. Just like in combat, a social encounter shouldn't always come down to a single roll of the dice. If you had a combat that consisted of a narrator describing an epic scene in front of you, and then asked you how you would like to approach that situation and make a single roll and tell the result of the entire combat based on that, you'd probably be upset. Yet, that's exactly what Cypher prescribes for social situations. Instead, a player should have to position their character carefully, use what they know to make the best outcomes for themselves. This should include things like gear, skills, and abilities, but also the environment, as in the social environment, and what the players know about their target. Knowing a vampire is susceptible to garlic is just as important in combat as knowing what kind of flowers your love interest likes on the battlefield of romance. Also, and I can't believe I have to say this because it's usually just implied that not every social encounter is going to be a dice rolling experience or need rules to dictate how things go. Sometimes a conversation is just a conversation, and you need to let the role play happen organically and naturally. And in fact, the Cypher book straight up tells you to do that. Like, of course, social rules should be reserved for two very specific occasions. When there's a conflict or drama, be it haggling, intimidation, or even in some cases romantic endeavors, or to codify social structures and characters' places within it, from a chain of command to a simple web of contacts and friends. Let's talk a bit about the rules I'd like to see in Cypher system. All of these are general rules that can be used or applied to all characters. There won't be much talk about specific types or foci and their special abilities. We're working on making that strong base that can be built on first, and abilities can build, modify, and enhance those for specific character types later. You can pick and choose which of these rules you like, as different games might benefit from some rules, but other rules might just get in the way. Remember that complexity can be a double-edged sword, bringing some good realism, but there could be a trade-off in game flow and fun for some players. With the ground rules out of the way, let's dive right in. Weighted social goals. Cypher doesn't have much to say about social encounters. To do anything, it's an intellect roll, and the player succeeds to get what they want. One roll, all or nothing. Or the narrator can simply say that the NPC won't give in to any social roll, making the character wonder why they made a social character in the first place, if a narrator can just go, no. So how can we make things a bit more exciting and fair? When a player wants something, it has a goal in mind for their character that involves something like persuasion or intimidation. When they want something from an NPC, you can make that goal weighted. The higher the weight, the more tasks a character has to perform to break through. While each roll might be against a difficulty level of the target character, the goal's weight should be dependent more on how important it is to the plot, or how important it is to the character trying to achieve that goal. The level of the goal should tell the narrator about how many tasks a PC or group of PCs need to make to achieve the goal, from 1 to 5, 1 being something trivial to the plot, and 5 being of paramount importance. I'm calling these things tasks and not roles, because sometimes a player does just something clever that might bridge that gap, solve that one piece of the puzzle. You don't need a roll for it, but the task was completed anyways. Let's go back to the skit with our bouncer. The PC wants to get in to see the boss, but he has to do 3 different tasks in order to achieve the goal. 1, to get the attention of the bouncer, 1 to get the information from the environment, and finally, an intimidation roll. These are 3 very different tasks, and arguably could use 3 different types of skills, because doing 3 persuasion rolls in a row to do something will lead to a very stale and boring game.
I can't stand to be asked the same question 3 times. It just irritates me.
But let's say your player wants to be real clever and tries to start out their gambit with a way to jump right to the end of the encounter, either by charming them or intimidating them into giving them what they want. You could tell them that this is impossible at this time, just like I did in the skit, but be sure to give them a good reason for that. Even with the best of reasons, this can still frustrate a player, so instead, you could give them a chance to try and make this roll. But success doesn't mean they just get to the end of the encounter, but instead, the NPC might give up a detail about what that next step might be. The bouncer could say something like, look, break my fingers all you want, but I wouldn't give up my boss for all the chili in the world. And then give that hint to your player that this character likes chili. This could lead them to know that they're selling tickets to a great chili cook-off, which could be something they could bribe the bouncer with, just to figure out that he's already got tickets, but he can't go unless someone covers for his shift at that time. At their core, these are social puzzles, and a narrator should have a solution in mind, but not be wedded to it, Let the players experiment and come up with new and novel solutions. Let the PCs try to seduce the bouncer's mother or bribe him with a membership to the Chili of the Month Club. It can be in problem solving that big moments in a game can happen that will make lasting memories forever. But what if your character fails a roll but wants to try again and again and again? Or maybe every character in the scene wants to do the same social roll. Well, that leads me to my next rule. Social backlash. Sometimes the only penalty for failing a roll is that you might not have the opportunity to do it again. But that's seldom a case when going up against another character, as they might stick around and keep talking to you. Now that character might stick around looking for a little bit of payback. And if the player character fails to intimidate, would you have to make another defensive roll when that NPC tries to intimidate back? Does this go back and forth all the time like this, making rolls upon rolls? If the NPC succeeds, does that mean the affected character has to run away? If you were playing a character that had to run away because an NPC intimidated them, how would that make you feel? Pretty badly, I would assume. This is where social backlash can help. When a social roll fails, be it trying to persuade someone, intimidate someone, or any other number of tasks, a character may take intellect damage equal to the level of the difficulty, or the level of the NPC. This is damage to one's ego or pride as their failure shakes them. This rule is much like the optional shock rule in the horror genre. The shock of seeing something horrible does damage to one's psyche. And social backlash is the same type of damage, just done to ego.
Could you pay me in advance?
And this doesn't have to be just for failing to intimidate. A failed attempt to seduce or persuade can make a character look foolish, doing the same kind of ego damage. An NPC can even point out a character's foolishness to drive it home that the character took an ego hit. And that means that NPC doesn't have to make a roll against the player. It's already added in to that first roll. This rule can make a player also think twice before just trying to intimidate or bribe the big bad, as there are now real consequences they know about beforehand. Reputation. What is a man if not their reputation? People know each other by the way we think of them and what society thinks of them. We can represent this in-game with a reputation score. This is a pretty easy rule to understand. You have a reputation rank from -5 to 5. If your rep is in the negatives, you're known as a scoundrel, and if it's in the positives, you're known as trustworthy. Depending on the person, the score could give an asset or a hindrance to a roll. Some characters will be more trusting of high reputation characters, like a police officer, but dislike low reputation characters. Others, like our ne'er-do-well bouncer, might like low reputation characters, so will be dismissive of characters on the side of angels. You can even give reputation scores to NPCs, and PCs can discover those with social roles. This gives the players a bit of information how to approach some NPCs. Each setting or each campaign should have a small list of examples of what might gain a character rep or lose a character rep. Different cultures and different time periods might have a different idea of what an upstanding person is. Don't be afraid to remind PCs how they can gain and lose rep during the game. There you go! 3 solid rules for spicing up your Cypher game with social encounters. Do I have more? Hell yeah! I could make this video an hour long, but I'm not gonna. If you want more, I have a document with these rules on my Patreon for members only. Yes, you have to pay $1. Look, I got rent coming up, and I can't seduce the landlord's mother again, okay? I can't do it. Also, I have some free stuff there too, so take a look. Thanks for watching and rating this video. Hey, go hit the thumbs button right now. A comment is always welcome, and because I'm a small YouTuber, there's a really high chance that I'll probably read it. But now, it's your turn to go play in your own game. Use the rules you think are best. That's right, go roll some dice.